Hello. 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 Alrighty. How's it going, folks? Welcome. It is a Saturday night, and normally I'm not streaming, and I'm just talking to friends right now and whatnot. Was going to play some Project Zomboid with my brother, and but real life happens, and you have to go to bed. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, after all. So it's not. So we're gonna. So here's the map that we worked on a couple of weeks ago, and we tore it out of the book because I just wanted to see where it was, and so we did lose that northern Arctic glacier region, which is fine. You probably can't see it, and bring it down as to what I'm talking about here. There he goes. So yeah, so that top area that we originally had, we don't have it anymore, which is fine, and that's on me. I didn't know where the what would you call it? The gonna hate myself for doing this, but I didn't know exactly where the where the preparation was. So that's the word for it. That's the word. So we have our map, and we were also doing a digital map at the same time too. So let me grab my supplies here. Make sure that we have everything that we need. Probably should have grabbed everything beforehand, but it is what it is. I'll probably do some dungeon map making sometime in the future. That's definitely going to be a thing. Where are you? Right here. And we'll probably do we'll do hand drawn maps because I'm still figuring out the software on how to do it. I'm trying to. I have a black pen, and then I have my color pens, my pencil. Okay, I think I have everything I need. Oh. For those of you who are thinking about getting into it, I will say this much. All right, it's a lot of fun. All right, so if I show you these two pens, all right, if I show you these two pens, they're mechanical pencils. All right, but you're probably thinking like, oh, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is the size. Okay. This right here, I don't know if you can see it or if it's going to focus well enough, is 0.5 millimeters. This one right here is a 0.7. All right, so this is going to be a little bit finer than this one. All right, but it's good to have these. Another good one is to get yourself a nice pen. I like the Pilot G2s. These are really good. These are my favorite pens since college, and I always usually buy a new package, probably like once every few months. For those of you who are like more inclined for distances, a compass would be really good. Preferably a better one than this. I'm hoping to buy a new one in the future. One that preferably locks in place. This is a little old. I've had it for a while, and probably get a better pencil. These are a lot of fun if you're trying to measure out distances. I kind of showcased it in the last one. Sharpie pens. If you're not going to be extra like me, like these I got off of Amazon. I think like $20 maybe. And these are really good, and they're really fine point threes. So, and they come in different colors, so these are pretty good. But if you don't want to be fancy, you can get yourself a Sharpie pen like this one. This also has a really nice fine point to it. And I think the last two pieces of equipment are probably the most important when it comes to this little relaxing hobby. Okay? And that is a good eraser. Okay? A really good eraser. These are awesome. All right. They're way better than the erasers that you would get on these or on a regular pencil. Okay? So these are just really good erasers, hands down. You can find these at any, hobby shop, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, wherever. You can even find them at Walmart. The pencils that you'll probably have a hard time finding are these right here. These are sketching pencils. All right, and they come in various degrees. You want to focus on 2H. 2H is very good because the shading and the line making is going to be very light. So when you go in there with an eraser, it practically disappears. And there's different levels. 2H is just the best one because it's so light. All right. Now I want to show you, hopefully, I was having some issues with my software just a while ago, and I'm hoping that I can open it up. Pin to taskbar. There it is. I had been playing with open. This one. There's this one. Jump over to this one. All right. So, as you can kind of see, it comes a little close. My scaling was a bit off on some of it, but that's okay. I think this is actually a pretty decent job for what it is. I kind of went ahead and added some desert regions, some mountainous regions. I mean, this is a world map after all. We're not going into fine detail. But we're going to go into some detail. Actually, let me go back over here. And we're going to turn this off. All right. So what's the next step? Well, the next step is pretty simple. We are going to be taking a look at this map here. Okay. I really like this map more than I like the map on the I might have to try and do that again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at our world map here, and we are going to decide on where the mountains go, where the forests and things of that nature. All right. So, like I said, this is a world map, so we're looking at just bigger areas of wooded area. We're not looking at the fine details. So, like, for instance, the Amazon rainforest is going to be seen a lot clearer than you'd probably see, I don't know, a small forest in my neck of the woods here in Texas. All right. Just because of it would be just a greater detail. So we're thinking the bigger picture here. So we need to think about placement. Okay. Now, it's always up to debate, and like I said, since we're using our 2H pencil here, it's going to be a lot simpler to erase if we want to change something. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do, let's go ahead and we're going to focus first on mountains. Okay. Now, mountains, these are the spine. This is the backbone. We kind of have to think about, we got to be a little bit of a geography student, right? To where we have to have an understanding of how mountains are formed. Well, how are mountains formed? Well, this is very simple. Well, for one thing, continental plates banging against one another, which causes the Earth to continuously build up. This is what happens to Mount Everest. On the Eurasian plate. The Eurasian plate, I want to say it's the Eurasian plate, I could be wrong, but right there underneath Mount Everest, there's a tectonic plate that is constantly pushing up and pushing up. Mount Everest will continue to get taller and taller throughout the years. It will always be the tallest peak on the earth, which is something cool to think about. All right, so how else are mountains created? Well, mountains are also created when you have a softer plate, like an oceanic plate along the coast, being tucked under a continental plate, which is then pushing up the dirt. Okay, this can form mountains as well. You also have a higher chance of forming volcanoes in that fashion. Okay. Tectonic plate movements are we just have to come to terms with that, right? Or at least not terms with that. We have to come to that realization on how we want to do that. So, for instance, if we look at these two continents right here, okay, we can see that they kind of fit together. So, continental shift tore them apart. All right, so that means these two plates, let's say these two continents are on two separate plates and they're moving apart from one another. Okay, so if I wanted to be really extra, and I am, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of draw a light line. And this is going to help me remember. Okay. This is going to help me remember that there is a tectonic plate for this continent. All right, we'll avoid the island. Okay. And then this plate is going that way. This plate is going that way. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and draw another plate, another tectonic. All right. Almost looking like an actual world map, right? So now we have that established. So what's probably happening here, believe it or not, there's probably a huge trench, a deep underwater trench that happened. We could probably address that later. Okay. So now we kind of have to look. Now we have to remember, what did we say that the scale was? Every inch. Every inch was 100 miles? Is that what we said it was? I want to say that's what we agreed upon. Because this is about 1,000 miles across. So this is about 1,000 miles across. So we'll set it to about 1 inch. So I'm thinking. So I'm thinking like right here. All right. This is what I'm thinking. That there's a tectonic plate here. And they're moving towards each other. So that means this area is going to be all mountains. Okay? We'll put an M there for mountains. Then let's take a look at. Now we have to also remember. When we put mountains, that means one side is going to be called the leeward side. Okay, the leeward side. I'm going to pull out my freaking geography textbook here. The leeward. Leeward. Is it leeward? It's leeward. This is the side that's sheltered from the wind. Leeward side of mountains. Okay, so for instance, the leeward side of the mountain. So let's say we have some winds and storms are coming from this direction. When they hit the mountains, they're going to slow down. So that means there's going to be dry land, probably a route right here. So we can actually put a desert if we wanted to in this region. Couple, maybe at least like 50 miles worth of desert or whatever. But anyways, or however we want to do it. So now the next thing is I really do enjoy like the Andes Mountains. I think the Andes Mountains are some of the most beautiful mountains, and I think where they're placed is also pretty awesome. That they literally form the backbone of South America. Now we could do that here if we wanted to. So that would mean that this oceanic plate. All right. So that means this tectonic plate is a little bit here. Okay. And then there's an oceanic plate that is being tucked under in it. All right. What was that called again? I forgot what it was called. My students would make fun of me if I didn't know what it was called. I haven't taught geography in almost a couple of years now. Subduction. Right? Is that what it is? There's subduction, divergent, convergent, and transform. No, but there's also subduction. I think there's a fourth one, but they probably don't even talk about that one. Divergent is where they split across. Convergent is where you'll have one that goes under the other. and the other one rises up. I'm probably thinking about the same thing. Yeah, there's that one picture that I always used in my. That's funny. All right. So that means this plate is staying still, and this oceanic plate, which is right here, is being forced under the continent, which is then forming these mountains. Let's say the mountain range goes about right up to here. Okay. Goes about right there. And then do I want to add another mountain range? I mean, this continent is pretty big. I mean, it could do for one, but maybe a small one. Probably about right here. We could have like the same instance to where we have an oceanic plate that's being tucked under the continental plate, and we're just having a little mountain range that's being formed here. Okay, we just don't want to make an entire continent full of mountains. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's kind of like this one right here. So like if I wanted to, on this continent right here, there could be two continental plates meeting here. And there's mountains. And then we could put the continent, or these two areas are divided somewhat by a mountain range. Kind of like how the Urals separate Russia or Asia from Europe, or it's kind of like the defining natural border between the two. All right, you can kind of see that I took our planet and uses inspiration in a very good fashion, right? Because if this was North America, what would this little tail be? That's right, it'd be Florida. And of course, this would be Greenland. Then you'd have Iceland here, and then this is like South America down here. All right, so the same thing goes over here. I think this is perfect. No need to change anything else. All right. The same thing goes with here. I think here, we can say that this island was started by a volcano, and that's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. Or this used to be covered by water. And since it still sits very low, it's a desert region. Okay. So we can kind of do the same thing here, to where we can put a mountain range right here. I don't really have to put the plates in, draw the lines for the plates anymore. You kind of get You kind of get the logic. All right. And then okay. And we can put a small mountain range here. And then we'll put another mountain range down here at the bottom. Okay. Hold on. Looking up some information here. Okay. So generally, from what I was reading, I didn't know this. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't know this. So you have the equator, right, of the planet. Generally, this is the hottest part of the planet. So the Saharan Desert is found north of the equator because of the reason why the Saharan Desert is there is because since it's so close to the equator, that area right there gets very little to no rain, right? Everybody knows that. If it gets less than 10 inches of rain, that's a basic geography factoid. Couldn't think of the word. So anything that receives less than 10 inches of rain a year is a desert, is classified as a desert. But the reason why the desert is there is because of the pressure that the winds coming off of the equator, or at least as winds circulate around our globe, from the equator they move north and they move south. It's such a low pressure setting. When you have low pressure, water is not going to come there as often. So because of that, it dries out. You get nothing but rock, sand, and everything else like that. So generally speaking, a desert in this region would be totally acceptable. If we'd looked, yeah, if that was the equator or where I wanted to put the equator, definitely. Definitely. All right, so now, okay. Actually, where's my... Up, there you are. Get yourself a ruler, guys. It will help out. Probably should have moved that island a little bit further south. Okay. Yeah, that's a straight line for the most part. All right. Let's see. Now comes forests. Okay. Where do we want to put these forests? We're not going to worry about the types of trees, deciduous, coniferous, all that stuff. We're not going to worry about that. All right. So if we're going to put a desert roughly about right here, we don't need to worry about trees, right? So that means we need to go further south. So we can put a major forest here. Okay. And can you guess what letter we're going to put in there? That's right. We're going to put a letter F for forest. Good job, everybody. Good job. Well done. Okay. Same thing goes for about right here. Again, I'm not trying to copy the earth. All right. We might put like some smaller, large forest area here. And maybe about right here. I mean, there's going to be some greenery as well. Who's texting me? Discussing right now with a friend of mine over the announcement of the new Star Wars film, the First Jedi. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not looking forward to it. Disney has killed. Has killed something that I truly loved, and it's fine. It's fine. They own the rights to it, but they killed it for me. And I can totally accept that I am the old generation of Star Wars fans, and the new tourists that are coming in can have the IP, But for me and my family, we watched the original Star Wars and the prequels. We will not even acknowledge. I haven't even watched. Excuse me. I haven't rewatched the sequel trilogy. It's been out now for years, and I have not even desired to rewatch it once. I have probably rewatched the original trilogy since the sequel trilogy has come out, probably at least 6-7 times. And the same thing goes for the prequels. I think I've seen Lord of the Rings, the director's cut. I think I've rewatched Lord of the Rings director's cut more than, and that goes. If you ever watched the director's cut of Lord of the Rings, it's roughly like an extra hour or so more of film. And if you're not a Tolkien fan, I mean, Peter Jackson does a good job. Amazon did a shit job, but Peter Jackson did a decent job. It's good to watch. What did he say? Okay, back to what we were doing. So we have a forest there, forest there. We can put a forest, probably at least a major forest, here in the heart of this continent. Actually, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. See how easy that erased? It's because of the fact that you don't have. I mean, you don't press hard with these pencils, but it's such a light. It's light graphite, or it's not as heavy like a number two pencil would be. We'll put a forest here, and then a large forest here, and that should be good. I don't think we need to do anything else. Yep. Yep. I think that's gold. I think we can continue on moving forward. I'm going to take a quick picture and post it on use photo. Okay. So I think we're good to go. Now comes the fun part. Okay. Now that we have our equator, we have all our things. Now we get to do the mountains. Mountains have always been a little tricky for me. Okay. So I'm going to try to zoom in. Give me a second here. Ooh. Oops. It's not what I meant to do. Okay. Alright, so we have our forest here. We have our mountains here. Okay. So now with mountains, you want to try to keep them parallel. Okay. So let me take this paper off and give you some ideas here. Okay. I'm going to do it with a pen here. Okay. Now, when we draw mountains, all right, on a map, when it comes time to it, people like to think that that is a mountain. Now, sure, I won't deny you. If you look in the player's handbook of any of the books, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinders, Castles and Crusades, I'm sure you will find a map with something like this as mountains. All right, that this symbol would represent mountains. All right, which is fine. It's totally fine. It's totally fine if you want to do that this way. All right, but why don't we throw a little bit of flair to it? Okay, why don't we throw like, and then it comes down like that. You see how kind of just like you see this jagged edges. I was gonna say jagged edgedness, but you see these jagged edges. All right, and you can even go as far and see this looks better than that. All right, now we can even go further and say, and there you go. Look at that one. Okay, and then of course you can get a little bit fancy with it too if you want to. All right, and right here. Something like that. All right, I messed it up. Now it looks horrible. All right, but you need to keep in mind that we're also going to add a little bit of shading, light shading, for the shadow of the mountain. Okay, we wanna make it look as nice, as realistic as possible. So just, you can do it like that if you wanted to, or you can go as maybe something like that. Very, very fine. Okay. Now, the next question is, how do we want to do this? Me personally, there's nothing wrong with using this pencil. Okay. But mind you, you're going to need to sharpen it. Okay. That's why I generally don't like to use that's why I don't like to use these particular pencils in terms of drawing mountains and trees. Because if I want the lines to be nice and fine, I'm going to have to continue to sharpen this. And that's where mechanical pencils come in. So we'll go ahead and we'll use which one's this one? the 0.5. We'll use the 0.5. And it's been a while for me, so I'm going to practice a bit more here. But they say it's just like riding a bike. You can even flatten it off like that, and then add some smoke. Got yourself a nice little volcano. Alright. Let me, let's see, configure video. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Hopefully it comes out better. That looks a little bit better. Okay. So, remember, we want to avoid... This is what we want to avoid. Alright, this is a no-no. No-no. Okay? Now, of course, if you're more comfortable with doing this, by all means, go for it. But you kind of want to throw a little bit of flair in there. So that's why it's probably good to practice just a little bit. It's always good to practice drawing these things, especially since we're going to be working in such a small area. But then again, that's why pencils have erasers, or why we buy erasers. All right, this is why we buy them. So make sure you have your. Did you know in the other half of the world they don't call this an eraser? They call it a rubber, and which I thought was hilarious, because because the term rubber is a colloquial slang term here in the United States for something else. So I thought it was kind of funny. Yes, I'm a child, I will admit it, and there's nothing that you could take that away from me. Okay, so with our mountains, let me see, bring these back into focus here. And like I said, I'm terribly sorry if it doesn't look all that well. I'm still trying to figure out how I can get my camera to focus properly. I might have to get a whole new camera in general. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to keep the mountains within the area that we have here. Okay, so it's going to be kind of difficult because the area is really small, but then again, remember, this is a not so detailed map. Okay, so we kind of want to, and it's probably going to come out light until we ink it, so just bear in mind with that. So I'm going to go ahead and there you go. Ooh, I don't like that. Was terrible. What was that? What was I thinking? And don't press so hard on the pencil, because you want to, just in case if you do make a mistake, you want to be able to go back and erase it. Okay. You want to kind of keep the ends of the mountains kind of as that's what I meant by parallel, or aligned, as aligned as possible. All right. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing ever is, but you just want to try and do that. You know, remember, it's kind of like how Bob Ross said, there's no such thing as mistakes. They're just happy little accidents. All right. We'll go with that. You know, Bob Ross, the king of painting. I would really love to try and actually see if I could do it, because I have no artistic flair in my. I have no artistic bone in my body whatsoever. And some of you are probably thinking oh, well, this is art. No, it's not. This is, for me, this is relaxing. This is a hobby. I guess that's that. You know, I just feel like painting is one of those things where it's like beyond me. I don't think I could ever achieve um achieve such a have such a skill. My sister is a wonderful artist, and um okay, so as you can see, that actually looks not too bad. That doesn't look too bad. Ugh. So that doesn't look too bad. It could be better, but it doesn't look that bad. Trees are a little bit more are more simpler. All right. I kind of like where this is, so we're probably going to move on, and we'll just ink these mountains here. I'm trying to see. We're going to use the Le Pens. Okay. Because I want to be able to show you. I'm totally okay with the mountains. Here. Okay. Now, I don't want to smudge the ink. It should dry pretty quickly. We're just going to take our eraser and just go right over the area that we drew on. Okay. And then voila. All right. That looks like a half decent mountain range. Okay. Now, let's go over and show you how we do forests. All right. Now, forests are kind of funny. Okay. So let's go and take a look at the notebook here. So remember, we have that outline. Let's say this is one of the outlines of the forest. Okay. I'm gonna figure video. There we go. So let's say this is one of the outlines of the forest right here. All right. Actually, let me do that better. Let me actually like. Let's say it's something like that. Okay. All right. This is gonna be funny. This is gonna be funny. Now, when you think of trees, how do you think we're going to draw them? Do you think we're going to do something like that? Or do you think we're going to do something like... Oops. Something like... Something shitty like that. Or, you know, we're going to do some masterful technique. Actually, it's not that complicated. What we're going to do is we're going to do our little cotton balls, our little clouds. Okay? And we're going to stay here at the base, and we're going to go about kind of like this. Okay? It's going to be very similar to this. We want to try to keep it as uniformed as possible. Okay? But following the outline that we did. Okay? And we're going to continue going up, and then we'll start the next row. But the next row is going to be pretty simple, because the next row is just going to be like that. Alright? Just like that. And we're going to continue to go all the way up. Alright? And we're going to follow it. Now, to add those nice little details, we're going to go here at the base of the little cotton balls, and we're going to add our nice little stumps. Okay? And we'll try to keep the distancing and stuff like that. And it will eventually fill out and look like a nice forest. Okay? So, I would recommend, alright, this is my recommendation. If you plan on doing a world map for the first time, do the trees last, because that is what takes up most of the time. Mountains are super easy. Rivers are super easy. Okay? But forests are... It's just a lot. It's very time consuming. Especially if you have like big, outlines of forest here. Okay? So, we'll do this small one here. And remember, we're going to try to keep it as uniformed as possible and follow this outline within some scope of reason. Okay? Don't get bogged down, because remember, this is a world map. We're not doing some crazy details here. Okay? We don't need to. When we go to regional maps, then yeah, we can spend a little bit more time in the details. Okay? Okay. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and finish it off with, at least we have our pen. You're probably thinking like, well, why are you not doing it in green? Because I didn't think to use green. Alright, I admit it. I didn't think to use green. I didn't want to use green. So there. So sue me. Okay. So now we kind of think about perspective. So if I'm looking at the map, how are the tree stumps going to look? So that means the tree stumps are going to come down there, 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 like so. Okay. I'm going to let that dry for a second. And we're going to be moving on to the next bit. Okay. What time is it, by the way? Ooh, it's 11:49. Okay. It's plenty of time. Alrighty. And let's see. Probably that's not going to focus all that well. Alright. But as you can see, with the change of where we place the stumps, it actually looks a little bit better. And then you mix that with your mountains, it's not bad. Okay? Now, if I was going to take just the continent itself, then yeah, I would probably leave space for lettering so I can have the forest name, the mountain range's name, so on and so forth. Okay? Now, let's rivers. Okay. So when we're looking at rivers, we like to think that rivers go do 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 like all these. That's not the case. Okay, that's not the case. Rivers don't flow like that. Rivers flow in a particular way. Okay, water will travel in the least possible with the least possible resistance. Okay, always, always. So, and generally, rivers form because of melting snow from mountains. Okay, or maybe there's a lake with an underwater spring that causes it to flood on a regular basis with the rain, and so water overflows and it flows towards it flows through low land. Okay, rivers don't go through high ground and then to low. It doesn't work that way. They're always going to take the path of least resistance. So, for instance, if you have like a lake, that river is going to flow and will occasionally. It doesn't happen all the time, because if you take a look at let me pull it up here. Uh, Okay, so if you take a look here at the here's the Mississippi River. Okay, the Mississippi River starts up here in Minnesota, and it flows all the way down towards the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, this right here is not a branch of the Mississippi. This river flows into the Mississippi. Okay, there might be smaller rivers that flow into it, but it rarely, very rarely, will branch off. Okay, like it would make a lot of sense for like Lake Michigan, all right, to have a river flowing out and then it meets up with the Mississippi. Okay, uh, same thing. Okay, it's same thing here with the Ohio River. The same thing goes for the Arkansas, so on and so forth. Okay, this river flows towards the ocean because I mean, if you think about it, if you really think, if you put some blah, 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 if you put some thought to it, okay, if you remember geography from high school, all right, the farther south you go, the more lower the land becomes below sea level, right? That's why, like, this is the reason why New Orleans usually goes underwater for every hurricane that happens. That's the reason why they built the levee system to avoid that, because it's low-lying land. And this is the reason why the Mississippi River flows towards the Gulf of Mexico, is because the land begins to slope downward towards the ocean. Okay? Gravity's beautiful. Geography's beautiful. So I think this is probably one of the main reasons why I enjoy map making, is because it also I'm able to touch up on a subject that I taught for quite a bit of time. So, anywho, so so the rivers are going to flow in a straight line. You can have smaller rivers merge into it, like we saw with the Mississippi, but it is very, very rare that a major river, branches off and goes in another direction. That just doesn't happen that often. Now, of course, this is a fantasy world. It's your rules. You can do as you see fit. But I'm just giving you the realities of the situation. If you want your map to look decent, or, have some realism to it, you need to bear in mind with those particular rules. The same thing goes with mountains, trees, and stuff like that. Okay? I don't mean to sound like I'm nitpicking or in any shape, but it's just that was something that I was taught, and it's something that I've always repeated. Okay, because when I was younger, or when I was new to D&D or tabletop role-playing games, and I would want to draw a map, I would draw these rivers, and they would just go all over the place, and there was no sense to them. There's always an intelligent design and reason for the way things function and flow. Okay? So here's the continent. So the water is going to flow. Now, this is where it can branch off, because this is where we get deltas from. Okay? And deltas are these small pockets of water that flows out towards the ocean. And these usually happen at the mouth of a river. So basically where it ends and pours into where you have fresh water and salt water mixing. All right. The Nile River has a delta. The Mississippi has a delta. Any major river that ends up flowing towards the ocean and it ends there usually has a delta. Okay, so you can put it there, and it just adds some little extra details to your map. And if you wanted to, Um, yeah. If you wanted to, you can add like little, uh, basically, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it looks like a line at the base and something like that to indicate marshlands, swamplands. Okay? So, it's a little bit over. Okay. We're going to finish up soon. So now we do have mountains here and we have a forest. So we could actually start a river here, and it's going to go down and then meet up there. And then we can have like a small, I mean, it's going to look small here from this perspective, but we can put like a small pond or lake. A pond. It would be a lake. And that lake is going to branch into that river like so. So rivers don't take too long. We just need to keep in mind to the rules of the river. Okay, I probably won't keep this. I don't like that. Um, so like up here, I would say like if I'm doing this as an outline, I would want this river to flow, and it's not gonna hit. It's not gonna hit the mountains. All right, because we know that the way gravity works, you can't do it. Water won't go that way. So it's going to either go around or it's going to head towards this area here. Okay? Or if we want to keep it, we'll keep this area clean. We can have the river flow up that way, which means that this area would be a low-lying area. Okay? Remember, what direction does the Nile River flow? This is something that I would always ask my kids. Sometimes I would say up. Like, what do you mean up? What direction? Give me a cardinal direction. They would say, what's up? North. And, or they would say south. Some of them would say south because they understand how rivers work. And I would tell them, no, it doesn't. It flows north. Some of them would be like, what? Really? Really? And I would say, yeah, it flows in I guess it would be in a northerly direction. All right. That's because the source of the Nile is in the heart of Africa, of the continent. And path of least resistance flows towards the desert, which is a low-lying area, and exits towards the Mediterranean. So it's one of those fascinating things. Okay, I don't think I'm going to keep that river or that lake there. I think I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I don't like it. Now, what I could do is I can keep this river, and I can just have something like that, and it flows into that one. And then maybe do the exact same thing from here, and have it flow there, like so. And there we go. And I think I like that, and then we're going to keep that, and we're going to go ahead and ink it. And we're going to ink it with blue. Okay? I know it probably would look a lot better if I inked the forest with green. Hey, here we are. We're just going to go ahead and ink it with blue. I do wish I had a lighter blue, but this is all I have. And there. And it's already too late to change the color scheme, so that means the trees are going to have to be black, or outlined in black, because if I do it in green for like the next forest, it's just going to look weird, and I don't want to do that. I mean, I could take white out to it and then just redraw the forest, but I would know the whiteout's there, so I'm not going to do that. But I think that looks pretty good. I'm content with that, actually. Very much so. Alright. So, let's, do. There we go. And actually, I'm going to add another source. Add source. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so there we are. We have it. A little bit of map making. It's always relaxing. It's fun. Well, guys, we didn't get a chance to take a look at the software today. That's okay. I think this looks fine with the little effects that I've added. I might take them off, to be completely honest. I don't know why I'm looking over there. The camera's off over there. But I think we'll probably change it up, or I'll try to redraw it. I think I might try to redraw it. I think I want to try and redraw it. Because then what I really want to do next is I want to try and do a regional map. And we're going to try and do that. So, but anywho, thanks guys for joining me tonight. Sweet dreams. Good night. God bless. And also, I forgot. Before I forget. Today is Easter Sunday. As of 7 minutes ago, which means he is risen. Good night, guys. Take care of yourselves.